You are in the hot seat and ready.
All right, let's go for it. Let's go.
This anonymous wife writes, I'm a born-again believer who is becoming more and more distressed about my husband's lack of self-control over his angry, raging behavior. How can I handle this biblically? I've talked to him several times about it, but he ignores it. He does not hit me, but can be verbally cruel. How can I encourage him to come back to the Lord?
You know, the thing that you're dealing with there is an immature adult who wasn't disciplined when he was a child, and he was unable to have little rages when he was a kid. And now that he's a grown man, those rages can get dangerous. The trouble is that rage will one day break out into some physical abuse where he might well take a gun and shoot you. You're looking at something that needs to be controlled. Now, you say you've tried to talk to him and he won't listen. I recommend strongly, this is tough love, but you say, look, I love you. I want our marriage to stay together, but I cannot have this behavior anymore. And I'm going to leave you, and I'm going to get a degree of separation from you. And it will be very painful for both of us unless you agree to go to counseling and get professional help, because he needs professional help. Otherwise, this thing is going to wind up hurting you or one of the children or whatever you've got. You can't live with it forever. This is like a tornado. The Bible says have nothing to do with an angry man, and you've got an angry man in your hands. Okay?
Good advice.
All
right, this viewer writes, I was recently watching a show where the speaker was talking about the subject of hell. He says that a loving God will not torture someone in hell forever, but instead they will be burned up into ashes. What are your thoughts about hell, and what does the Bible say about the reality of hell?
The Bible is very explicit about it. It says the worm doesn't die and the fire is never quenched, and it goes on forever. The thing about hell is it doesn't end. No, you don't get burned up. People in hell would beg to die. There was a story that Jesus told about a rich man who went to hell, and he says, please, just have Lazarus come and dip his finger in some water and put it. I'm being tormented in this flame. Just a little bit, anything to help me, but there's no out. You see, we come up with these things that please us, but God has made it very clear. It's eternal separation from God, and it's a horrible concept. A loving God has got sooner or later to say, I cannot allow this to go on forever and ever and ever. I have to put an end to rebellion. Sooner or later, the world has got to come back into order where people are free to serve the Lord without being afraid of angry people. Hell's real, folks.
All right, Pat. Trey writes, please explain to me what we are to expect as Christians on Jesus' second coming. I'm very confused about this because I hear so many different things. Some people say we Christians will suffer like everyone else. Some say we will just meet Jesus in the air. Please explain what will happen to Christians on that upcoming day.
Well, the day of the Lord, according to the Bible, is a terrible time. It's just an awful time. Jesus said, unless those days were shortened, no flesh will be alive. Nobody will be living. Every person on earth will die. But for the sake of the elect, those days were shortened. But then he says, immediately after the tribulation of those days, then shall appear the sign of the Son of Man in heaven, and he will send his angels to gather his elect from the four corners of the earth. So we're going to have a time someday where there's a shaking on earth and where God is judging wickedness. And at the end of that time, he will send angels to gather his elect. So that's what the Bible says. I can't go in 30 seconds to tell you all about eschatology, but that basically is what the Bible says. It isn't some secret catching in the air, then trouble, then the Lord comes back again. There's not 3-second comings. He comes back once.
All right. Kendra writes, I have rededicated my life to the Lord full force almost 7 years ago, and I have been praying for my family to come to salvation. It is difficult to witness to them because they are strong-willed. They call me a hypocrite and constantly nitpick everything I do and say things like, you're a Christian, so you should know this, or you should do this. I know the scriptures regarding dusting off your sandals and walking away, which part of me wants to do, and then there are the scriptures about turning the other cheek, forgiveness, and loving your enemies. Needless to say, I'm torn over what to do. Help.
You've got too many scriptures going. The Bible says, don't cast your pearls before swine, that they'll turn and rend you. The precious things of God that you have, just keep them in for the time being, and love your family. But if they are continually harassing you, then you can separate yourself from them to preserve your own sanity. You don't have to expose yourself to this kind of abuse over and over again. So it's just that simple. But yes, they're trying to push you. They're going to push you and push you and push you. And if you fall, then they'll say, you see, I told you they were just a bunch of phonies. But if you stand fast, sooner or later, those family members are going to come to the Lord. Don't stop praying for them. Don't stop praying. Always be in prayer. But you don't have to expose yourself to ridicule, but so long, all right?
You know, I experienced some of that, and you can love people from a distance.
That's right.
And you can keep, like you said, keep praying.
That's
but
it.
sometimes you just need, you don't have to take that
No,
abuse.
you can say, okay, I love you, and then out, get away, okay.
Well, that was the last one. Great questions and great answers, as
Thank you
always.
very
Thanks,
much.
Pat.